bringing you a kid-friendly radio show. Every Saturday afternoon on YouTube. Broadcasting live at 1 o'clock. Broadcasting live at 1 o'clock.
Hello and welcome to episode 52 of the Brit Show with me, Ethan. Coming up on today's show, part 2 of an interesting interview with TikTok and full-time road tripping family, the Flying Hens. First, I want to mention there hasn't been a show in a month. That is because I've been trying to focus on my entry to the Young Audio Awards, which is an awards show for young people that make audio, whether that's podcasts, whether that's radio shows, whatever. And if you win, you get a radio show on a national radio station, which is very exciting. Then I was away visiting my brother at uni, so that's why I couldn't do a show 2 weeks ago. So hopefully that explains it. And I did release a day in the life of me as a podcaster and YouTuber on my personal YouTube channel on Friday. So if you want some behind the scenes, please do go and check that video out. It is the second link down in the description, and subscribe to my personal channel Ethan F while you're there. Also, I do want to mention, I put my thoughts out to anyone who's currently in Ukraine. Over the past 2 years, the whole world has faced a common enemy together, which is COVID. And you would think that after all of that, that would teach human beings that we can work together. But Putin and the Russian government has done says otherwise. All we've been through as the world over the last 2 years, we could work together as one species, as human beings, but no. So my thoughts go out to anyone living in Ukraine or in any other conflict zones at the moment. So now let's lighten the mood with my part 2 of my interview with TikToking and travelling family, the Flying Hens. If you haven't watched part 1, the link is in the description down below, but here is part 2. So let's move on. So, have you ever experienced being recognised in public?
A few times. The first time was so random that we were like, what? So it was just like the first few weeks that we started out RVing. We were staying in this park, and I had posted a picture of just like my daughter in the park, and someone who is local, they lived nearby, but they have an RV and they were like camping here, and they're like, are you guys the Flying Hens? And at that point, I think we had 4,000 followers. Like, it was just
Wow.
So random. They're like, that's weird. And now they're like our best friends. But that was just crazy. And then randomly I went to a concert, I think, at a local venue, and I don't think I'd met her before, but I knew her kind of, that someone through Instagram, but you don't really know them. So she looked familiar, and I was like, where do I know this person from? And she's like, Molly, you're the Flying Hens. I was like, oh yeah, huh? No clue, but we're good friends. We've actually now met in person, so that's good.
Yeah. Do you make money through social media, and how does that work? Because I know I've talked to quite a few TikTokers, and I know the actual money from TikTok Straight, the Creator Fund, isn't that much, because you have to have millions and millions of views to actually make a decent amount of the Creator Fund.
Yeah, so from what I hear, because I have a few RV people that are in that millions part now, and she's like, work towards TikTok because the money is so good once you reach that level. Obviously, we're not anywhere near that, but it's gonna it pays for just some fun money for us. Also, when we bought our RV, I emailed the like maker, the brand of this RV. It's the Heartland RV. And I was like, hey, this is our story. This is what we're going to do. We have a blog, we have YouTube, we have the social media channels. Like, what can we do to partner with you guys in like us sharing our travels and us like talking about our RV, because we're going to do it anyway. And they actually took us on as an ambassador. So we do
Wow.
have like a monthly partnership with them. And we do like, like some of the instructional YouTube videos that we have made have been in partnership with that, so that they share it on their platforms. And I've written several blogs about random, all sorts of RV stuff. And then of course, sharing always of our RV life on our social, like TikTok and Instagram and that kind of thing. And then other brands have like reached out to us with, sometimes it's paid, sometimes it's like a really awesome product. I try not to have too much of that. Like, because my husband already has a career and he makes like enough money for us, like we don't need to like stress ourselves out over social media and stuff. Like my main job of course is mom, but I do like doing some of this stuff on the side, and of course getting paid for it. But I don't want like our Instagram and TikTok to be like nonstop ads about like, look at this blanket, look at this pillow, look at these picture frames. Like, I want to keep everything that we do, like with brand partnerships and, promoting products, to be things that like we really do love and like that our audience would also like find value in, not just some random thing.
Yeah. So if one of your children ever said they didn't want to live in an RV or live on the road anymore, what would you do?
We always like have those family powwows like every few minutes. You still like this kind of lifestyle? Do you like living this way? I mean, we do have those conversations, and so far everybody's still on board. I think it does help that we come back to to Texas, where our family is, and we have a taste of familiar. So we come back here for our doctor's appointments and stuff. But my son also, he plays baseball in the spring season here. So we plan on being here from March until mid-May. And like he has that like taste of like the sport that he likes doing. And then I just signed my daughters up for gymnastics, so they'll have that part of it too. So to like keep filling the needs or the desires in that way, like making sure as parents that we're in tune with, how they feel about it. And, you want to go and do this sport or something, accommodate that. And, RV life allows that kind of flexibility. Like, we don't have to continue to travel. We can like stay put for a while and do the things that you want to do and take trips whenever it's right for us. So, so far they haven't been like, I don't want to do this anymore. Sometimes they want their own space, which is totally understandable. I even want that sometimes. So, just to be able to accommodate people or the kids and their emotions that they're feeling that day of wanting their own space. So like, for 3 hours today, Sayla's going to have that whole room to herself and no one can go in there. So yeah, that's, it all takes adjustment and compromise.
So how often do you try and get back to this campsite?
We definitely come back for the holidays. So we come back in December and we stay here for a few weeks. We've stayed here longer this time because our RV actually needs repairs done. And then we come back from March until mid-May is our plan. And that's the length of baseball season. And then we plan to like kind of get on the road again by the end of May and travel pretty much through the fall.
Yeah, so when you're actually on the road, how often do you move from place to place? And do you like plan where you're going to go like at the start of the year, or is it just week by week where you want to go?
It really depends. Sometimes we only stay in a place for 2 or 3 days. And then sometimes we stay for like 2 weeks, sometimes longer depending where we are. But our hope and goal is to be able to stay in a place for like 2 or 3 weeks. I think that would be the sweet spot for us, but it's never worked out for us to do that. So there's always something that we want to get to, or some friends that we want to meet up with. So like our goal this past fall was actually to slow down and really stay and enjoy a place. And we did that like a few times, but for the most part, we were traveling every 1 to 2 weeks. And do we plan out our travels? Kind of. Like this past year, we really did stick to the plan of where we wanted to go. Last winter, we stayed in Florida. We traveled all around Florida. And then after baseball season, we kind of went from like South Dakota all the way west. We went up to Montana, Utah, Idaho, and Nevada, and Utah. Did I say Utah?
Yeah.
So I know this year we really want to go to Alaska, but there's a lot of restrictions with traveling through Canada with the pandemic. So we might just end up in Oregon and Washington along the coast there, and even into Northern California. That's our vision and plan. We have no other plan besides that, other than we just want to go there. And that's the beauty of the boondocking life, camping style that I talked about, is you don't need to have reservations at campgrounds. You just kind of go and park on land. So
so you travel around the US at the moment in your RV, but would you ever travel in the RV outside the US and like Canada, as you said?
Yeah, I would love to explore Canada in the RV. They just pretty closed on having Americans go up there. It's fine. One day maybe. But we've talked about renting RV and, exploring Ireland and Iceland, and like, I don't know how like the camping rules over there. I haven't explored that much, but now that we know how to do it, I think that door is open. I know that you can definitely, there's lots of rental companies, so we would love to do that one day.
Yeah. And what is a day in the life of your whole family in an RV?
It looks so similar to regular life. We wake up, we eat breakfast, and we start on our schoolwork. My kids are, well, at least my son, he is just most awake at 6 o'clock in the morning. My daughter, she's more groggy and sleepy, but he's like wants to get his work done, so he has more work to do because he's older, obviously. So he starts on his work early, and then my daughter doesn't have as much work, but everybody tries to finish up all the schoolwork by about lunchtime, and that allows us the rest of the day to, wherever we are, if we're near a park or something, we can go explore or go hiking, or if we're just here in the RV park, then they get to go play with their friends. And that's like our vision for them as children, is to be able to give them a childhood where they're not in a building all day long, and they're they're not in books all day long. We want them to be outside and just having the best childhood.
So I know you got COVID just before your trip to Hawaii. Did you actually get to Hawaii or not?
Did not. So we had to go we had to take these tests before we went and get tested. So we took the test here in Texas, and they are the ones that take a while to get the results back. So we flew to LA in California, where we were going to take our next flight over to Hawaii. And those test results did not come back in time. There's only a 72-hour window you have to be able to get those test results and fly. So we had to retest. And in that amount of time, I think we got COVID somewhere. I don't know, because the test that I ended up taking, I was the one that was positive, and I could not believe it because I had zero symptoms. I mean, I had slightest, but I didn't even feel sick. And so we had to like quickly cancel plans, quickly get back to a hotel and figure out what we were going to do. And by the time like that evening, my husband started feeling sick. And then by the next morning, most of the kids were sick. So it was just, we ended up quarantining in that hotel for a while and before we flew back to Texas. And I was like, ugh. So with the rules of flying to Hawaii with their COVID rules, we can't actually go back for another like 2 weeks. So we can't even try to fly there. So
do you want to try in them like 2 weeks or not?
It depends because my husband has to work and stuff. So
yeah.
Schedule, and he actually he's had been off of work for the last 2 months because he sprained both of his ankles. So he was on a disability. Yeah. But now he just got checked out and he's clear to go back to work. But now we just don't know when he's going to be scheduled to go back. So it's hard to plan within those rules and guidelines of traveling to Hawaii and him going back to work. So I don't know. We really wanted to go. It's whale season there. So you can like go on a tour and see whales jump. And so it's so cool. But I don't think we're going to get there.
Yeah. So has COVID stopped any of your other plans before?
I don't think so, no.
So that's the only one. And
that was our first time ever having COVID. My husband, he's the one who was really sick. The kids and I barely had barely any sniffles, you know. It was just strange.
Yeah. So how long does it take to set up the RV when you're in a new place?
Yeah, so it's usually about 15 to 20 minutes.
Oh wow, not too long.
Gotten it down. We're pros now, kind of. But my husband, he usually does the outside stuff, you know, setting up the water and the sewer connection and the electricity. And that's if we are at a park. If we're boondocking, we don't have any connections to deal with anyway. But yeah, and I do the inside stuff. So when we move the RV, if you see the thing behind me, this room actually comes in. It's called a slide, and the slides all come in. So you have to have everything out of the way of the slide. So I have like bins and boxes of like all of the stuff that we put on shelves and on the counter and stuff. So I set that all out. I usually do a little bit of cleaning because it's a good fresh start when you have a clean RV to come to. So, and then that's it. It's not too complicated anymore.
So was it much longer when you first got the RV?
Yes, we had no idea what we were
doing. Yeah. And does the size of the RV restrict you to where you want to go?
No. We kind of had that concern in the beginning because our RV is 44 feet long, or 43. I don't know. It's big anyway. So it's 43 or 44. And we have never been to a place where we can't get into. And if we know in advance that, then we just don't. Boondocking places that we go to are just wide open places. So we don't have any concerns of like where we're parking.
Yeah. So. And do you ever feel like you need more space in the RV?
There are times, you know, it's usually on bad weather days. We don't have too many of those, but you know, at least here in Texas, yesterday it was raining all day long.
Wow.
And our kids didn't go out at all. And I think everybody kind of like over it. But, you know, I look at the space that I have and I'm totally like, I think this is a perfect amount of space for now. I know that as our kids get older, they're probably going to want different spaces. And so, you know, but again, I don't think we're going to do it forever. So
yeah. And is at any points, is there ever times that you wish you were you had a house and you were living in a house?
No. There's times like during baseball season when we're here for 2.5 months and we kind of get into this rhythm of like normal everyday life. It seems like, oh, well then why don't we live in a house? But When we're on the road, no. When we're traveling to like awesome places, like it doesn't cross my mind at all. Um, we are thinking about getting some land here in Texas because we keep coming back to this exact area. We were thinking about getting some land where we could at least park the RV on, and we're not in a park, because in RV parks you're pretty close to your neighbors.
Yeah,
Not that
yeah.
we don't like neighbors and people, but we like more space. So we definitely thought about that. And then maybe one day when we're kind of done with full-time RV life, we would possibly like build an actual house on that land. So that's like in the back of our mind right now.
Yeah. So these are my final questions as such. So do you encourage other families to go out and move onto the road and travel full time?
I mean, I wouldn't just tell some random person living in a house, hey, you need to sell everything and go live in an RV. But I think it's important, like, concept of what we're doing is about like focusing on your relationships with your kids and with each other as a family, and like not like being so tied into this like busyness of life. Like we have to go do this, we need all these activities. Like it really is a burden. And I think that's like it hurts family, that family connection so much. And I think that even if you are living in a house, like to kind of reconnect somehow, whether it's like just going on more trips or adventures, or it doesn't have to be like a big trip, but like going to a park or a local thing, that you make that time together as a family. Because like, I mean, as a parent, my kids aren't going to be young forever. And I just want to be able to like, you know, have those deep connections and relationships with them at this young age, so that when they
Yeah.
do grow up, we still have that, you know, those memories. So it doesn't have to look like selling everything and living in an RV, but there are a lot of people that I've talked to and probably influenced. They're like, oh, this looks awesome. Like, I want to go do that. And then in that sense, I would, you know, tell them the steps of how to do it. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So what advice would you give to families who want to travel full time?
The biggest piece of advice I ever give is that it doesn't look like our Instagram squares. Like it's not always like this, oh, it's so much fun all the time. It's sunshine and rainbows and like always amazing. There are really hard moments. There are things that happen that require like extreme flexibility and changes of plans, and you have to adapt to be able to accept those like hard moments. And even like within relationships, our relationships aren't perfect. Living in a small space, I don't think the size of space really matters in that, but like when you have conflict, it's not like you can just run off to the another room of the house. Like we're all kind of like right here.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it helps you like deal with those problems more. You can't just run away from the problem. So
Yeah.
yeah, just advice to give people would be that you just need to know that things aren't always going to go well.
Yeah. And what advice would you give to families that want to travel more, but not like full time, but just travel around more?
I know like budget is a big thing, but like save for it. You know, you can make sacrifices within like your lifestyle if that's important to you. If traveling with your family is wants to be like a priority up here, then you have to sacrifice other things to make that happen.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think that traveling, even with young kids, I used to fly on airplanes with 3 young kids under the age of 5 and 6, all
Wow.
by myself. I did it without my husband. Like it's possible. It's not like it's exhausting, but it's
Yeah.
usually worth it. It's you know, I don't know. it's
Yeah.
it's fun. You can tie it into educational things for your kids too.
So what is your favorite thing that you've done in your time in RV life?
We get this question a lot, and it's always like it's a tie between two places. But I would say the time that we parked our RV. It was actually in an RV campground thing place, but it was in the Florida Keys, and our RV was like right over the water. And we have what's called a toy hauler, where we have like a back porch basically. And we put that porch right over the water, and it was like the best view and experience. Like I could have lived there forever. We were actually Googling like how to move to the Florida Keys and we could buy that RV lot, but it was like astronomical money wise. So we were like, no, we can't. Yeah. It was honestly heaven on earth. So
yeah, do you want to go back there this year then to experience it again?
I would. I think I probably made a mistake on that. I told a lot of other people about that place, and now it's booked forever.
Oh no!
But I would go back to RV.
Yeah. So what are your plans heading forward for traveling and content creation?
We basically, I think in the fall we renewed our contract with the maker of this RV to like we have a schedule of content that we put out on a monthly basis, and then selecting brands wisely to work with. I don't want to just say yes to everybody. I don't want to be overwhelmed personally, and then I don't want just my account to be littered with ads. So really just picking and choosing wisely on that. We're looking into baseball season soon, so we'll be, stationary here in Texas for until May. And then, like I mentioned that we're going to be going up to the Pacific Northwest of the States. And maybe we'll stay there through the end of the year next year. I just want to be able to travel slow and really enjoy the time. Last year, like I said, we were able to find another couple to travel with, and that was so much fun. And I'd like to maybe find someone else to be able to travel with for next year too.
Yeah, thank you for giving so much of your time. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day.
Thank you.
Okay, bye. So hopefully you enjoyed part 2 of my interview with the Flying Hens. I do want to say a massive thank you to Molly from the Flying Hens for taking time out of her day to talk to me and sharing this interview on her socials. If you do want to check out more of the Flying Hens, the links to all of their socials are down in the description down below. Sadly, that is all we have time for. We will be back actually in March, on the 13th of March, on audio and video with another interesting interview. Please share this video with your friends and family. Like, comment, listen to last week's episode if you haven't already. Listen to this show until the end. Email me, follow me on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and subscribe because we are trying to get to 200 subscribers. Follow, favorite or review or whatever your listening platform does. It really does help out. In the meantime, if you have any suggestions to make the show better, or you want to talk on the show, or if you have a TV show or film that you'd like to nominate for the watch list, or if you want the chance to be in a future head-to-head at the best guest, comment below, message me on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram, or email me at thebritkidshow@gmail.com. So that is all we have time for this week. We will be back on the 13th of March on audio and video at the same time, but for now, goodbye.
Bringing you a kid-friendly radio show. Every Saturday afternoon on YouTube. Broadcasting live at 1 o'clock. Broadcasting